Okay, we are now recording and admitting.
So welcome everybody. We're just going to wait until everybody gets into the room and then we'll get started. Yeah, there's still people arriving. We've got more people coming in.
Quite the number. Here we go. All right, we're starting to slow down on the admit, so I would say let's get started, Carolyn.
Okay, thank you very much. So welcome everybody to Planning for Remote Delivery for Fall 2020. My name is Carolyn Samuel. I'm a Senior Academic Associate at Teaching and Learning Services, and I'll be co-hosting the webinar today with my colleague, Adam Finkelstein, who's an Associate Director at Teaching and Learning Services. Joining us today as well is our colleague, Eva Dobler, who's going to be moderating the chat. However, we would like you to know that we are not going to be answering all your questions in the chat today. With so many people joining us, it won't be possible to do that. We will leave some time at the end for questions, but Eva's role is largely going to be putting some links into the chat that are going to be relevant to things that we're talking about today. So please hang on to your questions. Alternatively, you can pose questions in the chat and maybe other people attending the webinar would like to respond. So that's okay too, but we will not be answering all your questions in the chat today. We do have the recording going, and as it says on the slide, the session is being recorded. The recording and all the slides will be available on our website, and Eva has already put the link in the chat. So everything will be available to you. And just checking to see that all the business is taken care of, and I think so. So we can get started, and I'm just going to click to the next slide. We have some outcomes, a couple of outcomes for today's session. So we hope that by the end you'll be able to define what the remote teaching context means for adapting your courses while respecting desired learning outcomes. And we're going to talk quite a bit about learning outcomes today and in Wednesday's webinar. And we hope you'll be able to identify criteria for determining which components of your course should be fixed and which should be flexible, focusing on promoting student engagement. And the terms fixed and flexible might be new for you. That's okay. We're going to talk about those today and explain them. So it's going to be helpful for us to have a sense of what your experience is teaching remotely. And we're going to introduce a polling question in just a minute. So we'd like to know, have you taught remotely? And we haven't indicated here if this refers to teaching a whole course or just one or two classes. For us, that doesn't matter if you have a whole course in mind or just a few classes. We just want to get a sense of what your experience is with remote teaching. So Adam, I'd like you to launch the poll, if you will, and we can have people respond. It's a Zoom poll. All right, so
launched. So go ahead and vote on the poll there. We can already see, you won't be able to see it yet, but we can see the swing. We're at 50% answered already and climbing. Once we get up to about 90, 95%, then we'll end the poll and make it available to everybody. So keep going. Keep it open for another maybe 20 seconds or so. All right, 10 more seconds. We're going to close the poll, so get in your votes. Get in those votes. All right, so I'm just going to end the poll now here, and then I'm going to share the results with all of you. Now you should be able to see those results in the poll sharing, and looking at that, we have sort of almost a 43% split between yes, having taught in winter, and no, not yet, but plan to in the fall. So that's a really interesting split, and actually very similar to the last sessions that we've gave last week as well.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So that gives us a sense of who we're working with. We just want to point out also that we've done this poll in Zoom. This is a tool that you can use with your students as well. Zoom is not the most robust tool for polling though, so I think we would recommend that instructors use polling at McGill. And Eva, when you have a moment, you can put the, oh, Eva's already put the link in. Okay, thank you. So polling at McGill will still work when you are teaching with Zoom. So everything that you know about polling from before will hold if you're teaching in Zoom. So let's take a look at what's going to happen with adapting your courses. Now this slide has course design in the upper left-hand corner, but you're not actually designing courses from scratch. What you're going to be doing is adapting your courses. So we've got that nice animation there. You're thinking about course adaptation for the fall. And we've decided to show this graphic, one that we use in our course design workshop that will be familiar to many of you probably. This is a framework that we use for talking about course design, which we can apply to course adaptation, where we have learning at the center. Context is sort of the background for everything. Context for us has changed now. So this is something different. The context is now remote. We've got content here. With content, we think about what the content is of the course, the concepts, the ideas that we want our students to learn in our course. There's no change to that. You'll still be working with the same content most likely. Then we've got outcomes. So what will students value or be able to do? What will they know after taking your course? These outcomes are going to be like touchstones. They should already be serving as touchstones for you as you design your course. And now when you adapt your course, the learning outcomes should also be that starting point. What is it you want students to leave with? And then everything you design after, the assessments that you choose, should be designed for students to demonstrate what they know or value or are able to do after taking your course. And the strategies, what engagement and interaction activities will support learning, should help students achieve the assessments and the outcomes. So to do well on the assessments and achieve those learning outcomes. So what's changed? Our context is different. The assessments we need to use in this new environment might be somewhat different, and the strategies that we need to engage our students might be somewhat different. But the content and the outcomes are likely going to be the same. So keep this framework in mind. It should be of some comfort to you to know that we're not starting everything from scratch. We've got the animation there. So context, strategies, assessment, that's what we're going to focus on. So let's take a look first at the context. So remote delivery and online delivery. We've heard these terms before, and they should not be used interchangeably. So we're going to look at some of the differences. Remote delivery, that's what we are doing. This is our current context. We're adapting our courses for online delivery for a temporary period. Whereas online learning, or courses designed specifically for online learning, are intended to be that way from the start, and they go through a different design process. So in our context, remote delivery, we're going to adapt our courses, and we have a relatively brief period to do that, and you're going to have some support to do that, largely from TLS, perhaps from IT as well, and we hope from your colleagues and any other resources we can draw on. Online learning has a dedicated team typically that works for 6 to 9 months to develop a truly online course. That's not our context. We're over here with remote delivery. We're going to select technology with a focus on availability and feasibility. So McGill has a number of tools that are really, really good for supporting remote delivery. That's what we're going to be working with. Online learning might go beyond my courses and Zoom and some other tools that McGill might have to find resources that will allow for maybe enhanced learning, but with different technologies that fall into this 6 to 9 month design period. And finally, students did not enroll to learn remotely. Okay, it's a temporary situation that we're all living. It's unexpected. In contrast, with online learning, students enrolled specifically to take their courses online. So our context is different. And I think now I'll turn it over to Adam, who's going to talk about context, but with respect to course, student, and instructor.
Great, thanks, Carolyn. Yeah, I think that what's really important is thinking about that. Although all the design principles still hold, we're talking about our outcomes, we're talking about our assessments, our strategies. One of the things that can be radically different with our thinking about the fall is the context. And so, if we look at the first issue around context, this is very, very similar to what we've always had to deal with. So, there's always a course context where you're going to select different strategies and different assessments for courses of one size versus courses of another. What might work in a course of 500 will probably not work in a course of 50 or something back and forth or vice versa. And that's an important piece to think through. In addition, of course, we have the level of the course. Things that work well in an upper level course may not work in a lower level course or an earlier course, I should say. Also required versus elective as to how the audience that's there, the groups of students and what they're there for. And also policies might be different depending on the context of the course that you're looking at. So, however, those are very similar to the types of contexts we've been dealing with in the past, but their context with student instructors are also have a little bit of an important twist to think about when it comes to remote teaching. So if we go to the student context, things to think about with the student context is that background suddenly might be a real concern or issue to think about, or a challenge, I should say. So, you know, the way we ended the winter term, there may actually have been content in a course that you're kind of thinking that would be, or that would be a prerequisite to yours, that maybe the student didn't finish. Maybe there were some decisions made in the month of March and April, and content was removed, and there were some objectives that weren't met that may have to be addressed at the beginning of your course. That's something about the background of those students. In addition, time zones are a huge issue. You know, we may think that it's all easy and simple to have a course at 9:30 in the morning and everybody meets live on Zoom and off we go. Well, what about all of your students that are currently in China? Or all the students that might be in Asia or other parts of Asia or Australia or anything along those lines where they would have to get up at, you know, early in the morning or middle of the night to attend your class. And this is something to really think about, that time zones really wreak havoc. Doing an assessment where you might have an exam or a quiz that's due or to be done at a specific time of day, Eastern Standard Time, does not apply across the world. And that's something that's really important to think about. In addition, internet service and bandwidth is always a concern. Students often have a lot of access with their mobile phones, but maybe they don't have really great opportunities to learn in a quiet place on their own with a computer that might have a larger screen, better sound, better access, etc. The other thing that's an issue with internet service and bandwidth, and I don't know about you, but in a house of 5 other people, 3 of which are on Zoom calls at the same time, that bandwidth is a shared bandwidth. We're all fighting for the best bandwidth possible in our own houses. And that's something to keep in mind, that's really critical to think about, to know that students might have bandwidth issues, and it might not be that they have a speed problem. They might actually have the fastest internet. They just might have 7 other people in their house that are using it at the same time. In addition, physical space. Not every student has a quiet office to work in. And this is an important thing to think about, that we have to, you know, have an idea about what kind of context are our students learning in, what's happening with their lives. And the last, of course, is accessibility. Is that, you know, we know that accessibility can be a barrier to learning in all sorts of different ways. And we have to think about that when it comes to online learning, and make sure that when we're doing remote teaching, we have to think about how we're going to get around some of those issues of accessibility. So again, these things around student context are critical to make sure that we're able to think about all the possible issues around with our students. And one of the things that we suggest as a great strategy is actually surveying the students at the beginning of your class to find out things about their background, find out about which time zone they're in, find out about their bandwidth and internet service. All those sort of things are now even more critical in the remote context. Lastly, the most important thing to think about—
Sorry, Adam, I just want to interrupt for 1 second. So
Yeah.
you talked about the survey, and that's a great idea. So maybe we'll just mention that a survey can easily be done in my courses. There is a survey tool, and you can set that up very easily and have students respond and collect that information in my courses.
Absolutely. And it's one of the great uses of the survey tool, so that the student can actually pop into the course and the first thing they see is a survey about their own background. Absolutely. Thanks, Carol. That's a good point. So with the instructor context, there are, of course, a number of really important things to think about that you bring to the table, that you have to think about in terms of your own context this summer in developing your course, or redeveloping or redesigning or adapting your course for remote delivery. So the first thing is thinking about the time available. you know, if you're teaching 3 courses in the fall, you have to really think about what time you have, how much time you have to do that adaptation, and what you're really going to focus on. Because if you're teaching 3 classes, you may have to decide what you're going to do in each one in a very critical way, and may have to not do everything you want and have to really pick the things that are the most important to improve student learning. The second one is, you know, of course, that number of courses. And the third might be your own internet bandwidth or service. So if you're in the same boat as a student where you have a family that's online doing remote learning yourself, you may not have the best bandwidth to be able to do a wonderful Zoom session like what we're doing now. So this is something you need to try out. You need to test it. You need to make sure it works. If, for example, you're teaching at 8:30 in the morning and you're going to do a live session, maybe you need to notify the rest of your house to get off the internet for a little bit, as an example. Those are things you need to try out yourself. And the last is physical space. Not everybody has an office that they're able to teach from. And there are potential possibilities of being able to use our offices at McGill. That's still in the works. But if we're teaching from home, one of the nice things, if you have a powerful enough computer, you can have virtual backgrounds. And as you can see here, I'm actually teaching, and so is Carolyn. We're teaching from one of our favorite classrooms at McGill, which is Arts 150. One of the best new active learning classrooms. And it's nice because it sort of gives you a feel as to the types of experience we want to have and what we want to talk about. Now, not every computer is able to do those virtual backgrounds, but they really do add a bit of a flavor to the course and really add a bit more context to make it seem more like a teaching event that you're going to do.
Yeah, just to be clear, we're both in 150, Arts 150 virtually. We are not actually in the same room right now.
Yes, we've gotten that comment before. We've done essentially, so are you actually on campus? No, this is just an image. It's just a pretend, you know, that sort of thing. So, but it's something to keep in mind. And actually, there are some really interesting ideas of changing your virtual background to actually match the type of teaching you're doing, which is some real fun next level Zoom kind of level of skills. Great. Okay, so let's move on to our next slide and start thinking about what we want to do in terms of student engagement. So there's you know, the idea of this framework around student engagement has been around since the 70s, actually, I believe, and it's been rethought, and there have been some great articles posted about it in the last year or two, and especially even in the last 6 months related to remote delivery and how we have to think about student engagement in the context of remote delivery and think about these particular guiding questions. So some of the things to think about when you're looking at this diagram is, how are my students going to interact with content? So what is the kind of interaction I want students to have with the content in my course? Not just how they'll acquire the information, but how are they going to apply it? How are they going to practice that content? What kind of opportunities are we going to give as instructors to our students to be able to do so? We have a number of sessions that are upcoming that talk about planning your content, about working and curating new content, what kind of, let's say, videos you want to grab from the library. Maybe there are other TED Talks you want to bring in. Maybe there are things you're going to actually record yourself with Zoom. Maybe there'll be live sessions. But all of these sort of things are really important to think about how your students are going to interact with content. The second thing that's important in this diagram to think about student engagement is, how are your students interacting with other students? So not only at the very base level of being able to have conversations. So this might be, for example, you have a discussion board that's available. Students can talk to each other. Maybe you're using things like Microsoft Teams to have kind of interaction with students. So students can have interactions with each other. So it's not just an opportunity for them to be social with each other and communicate, but also do group work projects together. One of the most important things we can think about in terms of remote teaching is thinking about, how can we actually do group presentations, group work together, getting students to work virtually together. And it absolutely can be done, and can be done extremely well. And in some ways, actually, virtual collaboration is even easier to coordinate and organize than face-to-face. And you know, students have access to Zoom. They have access to other tools as well. You can use all of these tools to allow students to group together and do a collaborative work. And the last one that's really important too is of course, how are your students interacting with you? What are the formal and informal ways of connecting? Are you going to have formal classes? Are you going to have these kind of fixed activities? Are you going to have flexible times that maybe you'll actually interact in the discussion board? Maybe you'll have an FAQ there where you'll actually go and answer some of the questions. Maybe you have virtual office hours. Maybe you have a Friday afternoon at 5 drinks with students, even though you're actually not supposed to drink with your students, but you can drink at home. So that's kind of the idea of all the different possibilities possibilities that are there for students to be able to interact with you, as well as interact with each other, and of course, interact with the content that exists within the course. So there are some more references on our website that we'll have related to this kind of framework that are really worth reading, especially in the rationale and construct around remote teaching. Now, the next question is, well, if you're thinking about the types of activities that you're going to do with your students, what are different types of activities that you can do? And, you know, those of you that know a lot of the literature around, let's say, online learning, you might think of the words like synchronous and asynchronous. We've kind of put those words aside and tried to use some words that are a little bit more inclusive and easier to sort of think about when it comes to the types of activities you're going to do with your students. And there are basically two different types. The first set of activities are activities where students participate together online at the same time. So these are fixed activities where the time is set and everybody is present. And that's an important thing to think about, because there are lots of benefits and drawbacks that go with those kind of fixed activities, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But those kind of fixed activities are important examples because they're very, very similar to what we would do in our face-to-face class. Most of our face-to-face teaching they're fixed activities. They're things that are happening at a set time where everybody's together. And that's to be sort of like put on the mirror with flexible activities. And these are activities that you set out where students can participate online at any time of their choosing. So that there's not necessarily a set time where everybody has to do it at once, but you sort of set out the activity and students can do it at 1 in the afternoon, 2 in the morning, etc., things like that. Now, what's really interesting when you think about these two different types of activities is that all of one and all of another are not exactly are not going to be able to achieve the learning objectives that you have in your course. Really, what we're going to be thinking about and what we really want you to think about is that you need a combination. You need to make some hard decisions about what are you going to do that's fixed and what are you going to do that's flexible. And instead of thinking of your course as sort of like 39 hours of fixed face-to-face time, we need to think of our course as 139 hours of teaching and learning time. Sorry, 135 hours of teaching and learning time, which is what the actual number is when you start to look at preparation for a particular class, an actual live class, etc. And so if we look at those 135 hours, we need to think about how are we going to carve it up? How many fixed activities are you going to do during the particular week that you might have with your students? How many flexible activities are you going to have? What's the order of those activities? Do you do a flexible activity, then a fixed one, then flexible? How do you want to set that up? And these are really critical questions for you that you have to think about at that planning stage, because those fixed activities can be content related. They can be lots of different types of areas in your course, which we'll get to in a second. So I think—
Sorry, Adam, I'm just going to interrupt for a minute because people are asking about that 135 hours and if it's 3 credits. So maybe we'll just say a word about how we get to that number. So this is on the McGill website, and when Eva has a minute, she can probably put the link in the chat. One credit is equivalent to 45 hours. So a 1 credit course would represent approximately 45 hours total work per course. Thus, a 3 credit course can be conceived of as approximately 135 hours. And yeah, so we've got the link in the chat now and people can take a look at that. So as Adam said, we want to be thinking about big picture, the whole, and how do we break up that 135 hours to support students' achievement of the learning outcomes.
And I think that's a critical thing to think about, because we also really urge you to speak with your unit heads, speak with your faculty, because many of the faculties are interpreting this number as to how it should be carved up. And I think that's something that you have to balance with your own faculty policies that are there, or procedures that are there, as well as your own decisions about what you want to do. There is no rule about you must have X amount of fixed activities and X amount of flexible. What we're trying to do is suggest that you really need to think about what's best for your course, what suits your context, what kind of policies are in place with your own faculty, what kind of procedures that they're advising you to do, and then decide how you're going to carve that up. So that's an important piece about the framework. So if we think forward to, well, that's great. Well, what sort of examples, like what do you mean by fixed and flexible? So here are 3 different chunks of types of activities that we mean when we're talking about fixed and flexible activities. So in terms of content, fixed content activities are relatively understandable as, well, a live lecture, a live class, a panel discussion, a guest speaker you might have where everybody is tuning in at the same time, you know, the same bat channel, same bat play, you know, that sort of thing where everybody is there to see it live. And it's fixed. It means that after the live event, you don't get to see it anymore. Like it was live and that's it. Now, of course, you really want to think about, well, what happens if you miss the live event? What happens if you miss that fixed activity? And that's where you want to think about flexible activities go along with that fixed activity that you have for content. For example, screencasts, recordings that you might have made. All Zoom sessions can be recorded. You can make them available. They can be put into the lecture recording system, and they can be automatically captioned and available for students to watch. So all of the sessions that you do can be recorded. You can make your own sessions. You can make your own demonstrations, your own tutorials. You can curate videos. You can even think of flexible as non-video related activities like readings. Readings are flexible activities that are centered around content. So those are examples of both the fixed and flexible on the content part of our thinking through course design. Now, the second thing would be, well, what about interaction? So in terms of fixed interaction, things like a live Q&A. You might actually have a situation where students go and do all the reading, all the review, and actually your Zoom session, instead of it being a content delivery, maybe it's a big Q&A session. Maybe you're going to go over questions. You're going to do things like look at the chat. Maybe students are going to ask live questions, and you're going to have sort of an open office hours each week as an example. Or maybe you're going to want to do something like polling, like what we just did, doing a polling with Zoom, which is sort of a very basic, simple poll that you'd have to set in advance, or using something much more sophisticated like our polling at McGill, which everybody has access to. And if you used it in the past, you are in a great shape because it'll work perfectly online in the same way. And you don't even have to change really from your slides from face-to-face to slides that you might want to use, because the polling will work just as well online as it did in a classroom. In addition, you could do group or collaboration in a fixed interaction way live. You could actually take a Zoom session like this, break out into breakout rooms. Students can be in groups of 5 or groups of 10, whatever you're going to do, have them work on something and then come back. You can do a giant think, pair, share. So we could split our whole group of 180 people into groups of 2. Everybody could have a short discussion, and then we could bring it back for a plenary. All of these will be detailed more in some of our other sessions around using Zoom as an example. Flexible interaction activities are things like discussion forums. Discussion forums in my courses are exceptionally good at being able to manage those kind of flexible interactions. You can set out ideas of a seed statement that people are going to have an argument about. You could have a conversation about a particular piece of content, like a video that's posted. Any of those ideas are really great for using discussions online. In addition to that, of course, one of the great things you can do with flexible interaction would be group work. Students can work in teams together asynchronously, like with, or I should say, in flexible ways, which if you notice every once in a while, I'll plop in the synchronous and asynchronous, but that's just because it's stuck in my mind after years of reading through the research. But I think that thinking about it in terms of fixed and flexible make it a lot easier. And it also makes it a lot easier when you start thinking about assessment. People don't really think of synchronous and asynchronous assessments, but fixed and flexible makes a lot of sense. And I'll give you some examples. In terms of assessment, a fixed assessment could be thought of as something like an online exam. In other words, you're going to have a time of day that everybody's going to be online. They're going to do the quiz or whatever you're going to set up at that moment. They've got X number, got an hour to do it. It's got X number of questions. It opens, it closes, done. So in other words, it's a fixed assessment that's given where everybody is tuning in at the same time. Now, what happens if your student is in China and has to get up at 2 in the morning to do this fixed assessment? This is something you have to think about. In addition, the second bullet there, a great example, is a live oral presentation. So maybe in terms of assessments, you're actually going to have students do group presentations, and those could be fixed at a specific time. Students could actually sort of come to a Zoom session. You basically give them the co-hosting abilities and say, okay, you started off, let's go. Students can present their ideas back. In addition, the next one here is in terms of flexible assessment are lots of ideas around things like take-home exams. So you can use the assignment tool in my courses, provide an exam, students go away, have 72 hours to work on it. work through the exam, submit it back for grading at a set time. Could be essays that you have multi-stage assignments with that you're going to have students work through. And lastly, instead of doing a live oral presentation, you could actually do that oral presentation by having students record the presentation on their own and submit it with My Courses using the assignment tool as an example. So again, those are a whole bunch of different examples of fixed and flexible activities in terms of content, in terms of interaction and assessment that are really going to help you be able to level up those ideas moving forward. So if we go to our next slide, as we sort of get towards the end of our thinking here, there are some real benefits and challenges to live fixed activities. So for example, in terms of an instructor, it might be easier to transition to a fixed activity. Doing a presentation live is a little bit more, or a lot more similar to doing it live in a classroom than it is making a recording. You have an audience, you can talk with people a bit, there's more interaction, it's a little bit easier to work with. You can also record the live session and provide it afterwards, so you kind of get the best of both worlds there. And there's the opportunity to interact with students, take questions, people can raise their hands, etc. But there are some real challenges to fixed activities as well. They do require real-time management of the technology. To run a Zoom session, you need practice. You've got to be able to practice this before you go live with 300 students, or 100 students, or 50 students. You want to make sure you've done this at least a couple of times. Do it with your colleagues. Have some Zoom practice sessions with friends and family. It's really, really helpful. You may need some help with that delivery. Maybe you need a TA with 300 students to help moderate the chat or help respond to ideas. It may not be possible to get to all the student questions. There's a whole bunch of questions flying by right now that I'm lucky Ava is there monitoring, and she's going to bring them back a bit at the end. But this is something to think about, that the chat and presenting at the time is hard to do that kind of double management. In addition, of course, you have to think about scheduling conflicts with times of your own. Students, of course, in a fixed live session can ask questions. They have opportunities for peer interaction, et cetera, really great. But of course, the challenges is conflicting time zones, schedules, issues with the technology they might have. What if it crashes in the middle of the session? What are they going to do then? And they may have internet or bandwidth issues. So these are lots of different things to think about when you're choosing what's going to be fixed and what's going to be flexible. Of course, with flexible, on the next slide, there are also benefits and drawbacks. And when we think about the instructor in terms of benefits of flexible activities, is that you have your flexibility around the time of and place which you're going to actually do these activities. There's a lot of tools available that you can make a recording with, tweak it, edit it, change it, modify it, so you can get it to be exactly the right message that you want and not worry about saying the wrong thing live, which of course all of us do. And then of course it's recorded for all time, which is always an interesting thing to think through. Of course, there's also flexibility in the development and delivery of the formats. You have a lot of options available to do that. Now, the challenges, of course, is that you do need to level up some of the knowledge around the technologies. You need to have an idea of what you can do with them and how you can take advantage of them. And that's where we have a lot of support available to you in the coming weeks and months. Of course, with students, the big benefits, they can engage anytime in bite-sized chunks, and they can take their time to reflect and review, do a little bit of content, maybe have an opportunity to reflection, think about it, have a discussion, etc. Spread out the learning instead of it just being one fixed moment in time. And of course, then the challenge is that there are always issues with viewing video. There's always technology issues that have to be made aware of and things to think about moving forward. So I think those are really important pieces that we really wanted to talk about, is the types of fixed activities that you can select from, the types of flexible activities that you can select from, so that you're really armed with the most amount of opportunities and choices for activities when you think about, let's say, the 135 hours that you have for learning going on in the fall, and what you're going to choose to do both in a fixed way and what you're going to choose to do in a flexible way. So maybe we'll move to the last slide there, Carolyn. And
yeah, just before we get to the next slide, I did notice a question coming through the chat about tracking whether students watch recordings in My Courses. So instructors can indeed see what students access in My Courses. So there is a tracking feature. You can see exactly what they click on, any type of content. You can see if they've accessed your feedback. But what you can't know is what they're actually doing with it. So they might open a video, but you don't know if they're actually watching it or doing anything with it. So it might be a good idea to assign a task to accompany any kind of reading or viewing, so that students are actually obliged to engage with it. Okay, so let's move on. And we're coming back to our course design slide right here. And we just want to remind you that we're working with Adaptation. And while the context has changed, the content will likely remain the same. The outcomes will likely remain the same. The way you assess the work that students have done might be different. And we're going to talk a lot more about that at the next webinar on Wednesday. And of course, the strategies that you use to engage students might be different as well. And yeah, so we've got those same questions coming up that we had before. No change here. So we wanted to point out that we do have a curriculum of offerings. This is posted to our website as well. This is sort of a curriculum map of all the webinars that we're going to be running throughout the month of June and perhaps later again in the summer. We're going to see how that goes. And we would encourage you to take a look at this, and you can already register for any of these sessions. Registration is open on the TLS webinars page. In addition, we have some homework for you. We've called this Next Steps. We would encourage you to read this document, Adapting Your Course for Remote Teaching, which is available on the TLS webinars page. The URL is on the slide. And if you can read that in advance of Wednesday's webinar, that would be a good idea to get thinking already about what changes you'd like to make in your course. And we have some sample evaluation schemes on our website as well that are designed to inspire you. We don't imagine that you will take them sort of wholesale and say, oh, that works for me, I'm going to take it. But you might find ideas that you can draw on when making choices for your own course. There's a second resource document that we would encourage you to take a look at, Adapting Your Assessment Strategies for Remote Teaching. This is largely what we're going to be talking about on Wednesday. There is a little bit more work you can do in the meantime. You have access to a My Courses Essentials self-paced tutorial. Every instructor at McGill should have access to this. If you're new to My Courses, we strongly recommend you take a look at this. If you need a refresher, it's a good place to go and have a look. And in addition, we've got this 67 circled here. This is the number of posts that are there. There is a discussion forum that is open, that is moderated. We encourage you to post your questions to that forum, all your My Courses questions, and you will get answers. There are people responding. So that's your homework. We would like to know from you, just in our last few minutes, what your most important takeaway is from today's session. And there is a reason that we like to end our webinars with this question. We'd like to have your feedback. We'd like to know the extent to which our outcomes for this session have been met. We started with 2 outcomes. So by seeing what your takeaways are, we get a sense of the extent to which those outcomes have been met. At the same time, we encourage you to reflect on what is important for you so that when you leave this webinar, you have at least one idea of something that is valuable for you. So 2 reasons to do this kind of takeaway. So we'll just give you a minute to type something into the chat. We encourage everybody to put something there about your most important takeaway. While you're doing that, we will take a look at the chat, and we can also hear from Ava. If there's anything, Ava, that you would like us to address, please let us know.
Yeah, I would actually. So one of the questions that came up that I think is something that I hear a lot, and that's the question, do I have to hold my class at the time when it's scheduled in Minerva, or can I do it at a different time? So it would be great, I think, if you could say something about that.
You should respect the time in Minerva, and I did see your response in the chat, Ava, and you were right on. We want to avoid causing conflicts for students. If you decide to have fixed time activities at a time other than the scheduled class time, that might conflict with another course that a student has. So it is not recommended to schedule fixed class periods outside of the regular time that's posted in Minerva.
Another interesting question is, are there legal issues to recording and posting videos with students participating? So do we need to obtain their permission?
That question is currently under discussion with legal. We don't have the answer yet, but I'd like to offer a recommendation. Consider recording your lectures but maybe not recording student interactions. We have heard from students that they might feel, that actually from students who've said they might feel intimidated participating in sessions that are being recorded because they worry about asking ignorant questions and they don't want to be recorded asking ignorant questions. And I'm actually quoting a student from a survey. Another consideration is that some students come from countries that might have restrictions or constraints about free speech. And students have expressed concern about openly expressing their opinions being recorded and then having those opinions somehow made available on the internet. So these are serious considerations. McGill is looking into what happens with consent. We will be posting that information on the TLS website. Ava had put the link in the chat earlier to guidelines for remote teaching. And that's where that information will be posted when we have it.
I just wanted to add too that I think this is a really important point where transparency is key. There could be very well opportunities where you want to have students participate, but maybe at the very beginning, if you say, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording for this. We're going to have a discussion and then I'll summarize it and then record that summary. So one of the nice things is with Zoom is of course you can pause the recording, continue having a discussion, and then re-enable it and move forward. So one thing you can do again is think with discussing with your students, what will be recorded and what won't. And maybe this is an opportunity to be transparent with them about, look, I'd like to have a conversation with you. I'd like to have that open feedback. But what I want to do is also make recordings available in case somebody can't be here. So what kind of agreement do we want to come to there? And that can be very, very helpful as well. But I think the idea of, students can still also comment with their video off. That's an important thing to be as well, is that you don't necessarily have to have your video on, and students could comment by voice. And also if they're allowed to rename themselves, which is another option in the list here, is that they could rename themselves to even appear more anonymous. So there are definitely steps that you can take to make things a little bit more anonymous in Zoom as an example. And I think that that's something to keep in mind with. And I think, there's been a couple of really interesting comments through all of the chats here. I've sort of had a chance to look at them while we're going. One thing I want to point out is that there are a lot of resources available for you. And many of the questions that people are asking, we actually have either online or in upcoming webinar sessions. So I would really urge you absolutely to take some of the time to go to some of the other sessions. And if you can't go to them, watch the recordings. You can watch them at double speed if you really want to, just so that you can look at some of the things that are being talked about. And people also mentioned here, I think there was an interesting comment about, it was really hard, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. It was hard to keep track. Well, that's why we record it. So then the nice thing is you can watch this afterwards, slow it down, stop it, pause it, make notes, move forward. That's one of the big benefits of recording any kind of session like this, is that you have the ability to continue moving forward and go back and revisit something that might have been said that went by quickly, or something that went by that you wanted to follow up later.
Okay, and John Sticks has been waiting patiently with his hand up. So let's see what John has to say. And can you unmute yourself, John? I don't know. John, are you able to speak with us? There we go.
Yes, hi. Yeah, I don't think it's anything earth-shattering, because I saw a lot of other comments saying the same thing, but I really liked your point that you made about the fixed and the flexible activities. That sounds really exciting.
Glad to hear it. So one of our learning outcomes has been met. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, there was another hand up, but it's gone away in the meantime.
I have a question from the chat if you want.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And now I lost it. Ah, yeah, here. I guess there is no way to make sure that the student who registered for the course is the person we are Zoom interacting with, getting assignments from, etc.
If you mean that there's no way to figure out who they are because they've decided to give their credentials to access all McGill systems to someone else, yes, that's possible. But it's highly unlikely that students will hand their McGill credentials, which gets them into everything at McGill, including their financial information, to someone else. It's possible. But that's why we have things like two-factor authentication. Those of you that have seen where now when you log in, it has to go to a note and say, yes, it's me, I'm really logging in. That's the best we can do. Now, you could, of course, have a stand-in, I guess would be the idea. But, you know, these are things that we need to keep in mind that might be in any class. If we have a class of 100 people, you know, the student might not be there and somebody else is attending in their place. So I think we have to say that I don't think that the online environment is providing completely different problems than in the face-to-face that way. I think that there are some different ones, but I think that's something we have to keep in mind. I think for the most part is that if they're signing in with their credentials, we can at least have an understanding that it's them, but keep that in mind as you're building your activities going forward.
And I think another good question is, if we forget to pause recording during a student's question, can the recording be edited to delete the sensitive content before it is released?
Yes. Yeah. So you
Yes.
can always edit or modify the recordings. It does take some effort to do so. I mean, it's something you'll have to do, but yes, you absolutely can edit, chop, remove. You don't have to make all the recordings available. You could, for example, do things, where you actually have, let's say you have made up 3 or 4 fixed sessions, but one of them you actually just don't make available, even if it was recorded. So that can all be done in the lecture recording system, of course, as we have in the past.
So I do want to point out that it is 12:45. We want to respect people's time. So we're going to officially end the webinar now. If there are any last questions, Adam and I and Ava can stay on for another couple of minutes. But we'd like to thank you all for joining us today, for participating in this webinar. We have the assessment one coming up on Wednesday at the same time, and we would encourage you to register on the TLS website. There's a link to registration. So thanks very much, everybody, for joining us, and hope to see you at Wednesday's session. And there are many other sessions throughout the month of June.
Thanks, everyone. It was great to have all of you here today.
Okay, we've got a question here from Ferry. Ferry has a hand up. Ferry Hassani.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, okay. One of my major problems is the assessment. How do we ensure that the students are not cheating? Most of I think I taught a couple of lectures in the winter and also exam, take-home exam, and the students all did very well. Now, then the higher ups told me that the assessment were too high, and I think it was A- for most of them, and this should not be the same. So what do you suggest one can do with this?
So there is no short answer to that question, Ferry. It's an excellent question, and it's one we've received many times. I'd like to suggest that you join us on Wednesday, because our whole webinar is going to address assessment. If you're not able to join us Wednesday.
I will.
Okay, but there is a recording of that webinar on the TLS website, along with a resource document. So just in the interest of time, I think it's probably not good for us to get into that right now, because there's no short answer. So please join us Wednesday, and we will have much more to say about that.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you.
Can we take one from Richard?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, the question, I put it in the chat. It's about the polling of students. I think it's a great idea to start a class with a poll and to sort of get an understanding of their context. Is there going to be some kind of more general poll that's going to be held by the university that's going to be shared with the teachers regarding what their context is at home in terms of technology, rather than each course separately asking the student to fill out a poll, you know, for I've done polls in the past, and you can see how students, there's a bit of polling fatigue that sort of sets in at a certain point.
That's a
So
good
as far as
question.
oh, sorry, Adam, go ahead.
No, I was saying it's a good question. There is nothing at the moment that is centrally organized to gather all of that feedback from all the students at the university centrally. But there are some efforts at faculty levels of doing some of that. So it sort of depends on where you are at the university. I would check with your faculty lead within your faculty and see if there is. If not, that's something that you could do at the faculty level. But there isn't a big effort centrally to do that at the moment that I know of.
Which faculty are you in, Richard?
So I'm a course instructor in the mechanical engineering department.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious, yeah.
Yeah.
But Adam's absolutely right. This is the kind of initiative that's happening at the faculty level.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have Selena next. Go for it.
I just have a question about if they change their names. Can we request that they don't, or is there a legal obligation? For me, it's just a question of attendance. And if they start to change their name to caffeine addict or something like that, then I have no idea who's actually there.
Yeah, so the quick answer is that you don't actually, their name change is irrelevant. You can actually check to see if they've attended. If you actually schedule the Zoom meetings from inside my courses as you would the classes you're going to do, you can set it up so with students that are registering, in other words, students that come in that have to sign in through McGill to access the meeting, it will actually record their access by their McGill address. So it won't really matter what they name themselves in the session. Because the other problem is that whenever you're in a session is that people might come and go. So it depends on when did you decide to notice who was there or who wasn't. So that's why doing a record after the fact is really important. And you can have a report in Zoom that will give you, here's all the email addresses that attended. And that I would use instead of worrying about name. That way that they can change their name to something that makes sense. I would, however, speak with them at the beginning and say, like, let's try to keep things appropriate. And we're ensuring that you are using an appropriate name. If you want to change your name to something, that's fine. But, you know, Angry Kitten might be okay, but I can definitely think of things that may not be very appropriate that you would want to have students change your names to. But luckily, if you do require a McGill sign-in when you set up the meetings and you do run a report, you can find out who was actually there.
Okay, so then what I would just do for that is you post the link in my courses, and then my courses will automatically record the attendance. Is that correct?
If you have to go to our website. If you look through the Zoom in my courses section, it talks about how to add the button to the top, and it will all integrate for you. So follow the instructions there, and you'll be good to make sure you add the tool to my courses to go forward.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much for this session. That's really helpful.
Our pleasure. So I think
we've got two more hands up. We'll take the last two questions and then we'll sign off. Okay, so we've got William.
Go ahead, William.
Hi, so I realize that I'm likely going to have to structure this with a mixture of fixed and flexible activities, but ultimately most lectures in my class are going to either be pre-recorded or live streamed, and that's a decision I need to make in the next couple weeks. I realize this is kind of a direct thing that's hard for you to answer, but for a class of 70 people, is there one you would strongly recommend versus the other?
What do you mean by one you would strongly recommend?
As in, are all the professors who are doing live streaming deciding that, like, they're having so many connection problems, it's been a disaster, or are all the professors who are doing fixed lectures discovering that their students aren't engaged? I mean, we've had some practice from the spring that I haven't had, but I'm curious what the general experience has been.
I think there's been a varied experience, and there's
absolutely
some amazing examples of classes going live with Zoom that are engaging, interactive, and super successful. So it is definitely within everyone's power to make classes like that. And the technology exists, the technology works, the support is there. So there's every opportunity to do so. And I think the question is really more of what do you want to do to plan for that? And how do you design the classes so they can be as engaging as possible? So I would definitely urge to come to a couple of the other sessions, look at the recordings we've already done to be able to ensure that you've got the plan that's going to make it as successful as possible. Carolyn, you want to add to that?
No, you're right on. It's good. So we'll take our last question, and that would be Rebecca. Rebecca?
I think we may have lost her in the muting or unmuting. Rebecca, if you could just raise your hand again, I can unmute you. I think Carolyn pulled you off the list too fast for me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But I do see Rebecca is still there.
Okay, so if you just unmute her, she should be able to then unmute herself.
Yeah, I've clicked on unmute.
All right, so Rebecca, go ahead.
Okay, very simple question. I had it in the chat, but I thought I would just ask again. If we wanted to give people the option of having the same background so that they feel like they're in the same room, like you are, your background looks very good. And when I've put up any of the backgrounds from photos, it looks like my head is floating. And I don't know what you did, whether it has a better resolution, your picture or whatnot, but could that be made of it? Could McGill make available several backgrounds that people could use as a virtual classroom background? So,
Actually, McGill has done that.
Yep.
And there is a link in the chat already to a whole lot of library scenes. So the library has taken a number of pictures throughout the campus and made those available as Zoom backgrounds. And okay, so Ava has just put it in the chat again. And those are some really nice ones of the McGill campus.
Yeah, I
There's
think
also
the
on our
problem
website.
is-
Yes, sorry,
Okay,
go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say, if your head is floating, it's probably your computer that's the issue, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, it does take a relative, you need a computer that's in the last 2 or maybe 3 years at the latest to be able to do the kind of virtual background. But you can try it out and see if it works for you. The other thing is that on our website, there's a recent classrooms, and actually these photos, along with a lot of other classroom photos, are also available on that site too.
Yeah, and Dennis put that in the chat as well, that the quality differences have more to do with the computer than the photo. Absolutely.
yeah, my computer's 3 months old, so it's not the computer. So maybe something's not configured properly.
Sounds
But-
like something's not quite right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It sounds like something might not be quite right. So yes, maybe you do need to have something seen to on your laptop. Yes.
Okay, because it's brand new. So, and it's the same thing if I'm using the iPad. It's just very, but so what you have right now is available, you're saying?
Yep.
Okay. Spaces.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see if that makes a difference then. Okay.
Great.
Good.
Thank you. It's been great.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to sign off now. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and see you Wednesday.
Thank you all.